Global Entrepreneurship Summit has ended, but the conversation has not. I think for me, it has just begun. And this morning, I'm joined by delegates who attended the GES, and they're here to share some of their views, some of their opinions. Any questions you have for them, 22422 is the SMS line. For now, though, allow me to introduce you to my panel. A very good morning to all of you.
Morning.
And we'll start with this lady. Of course, by now we all know who she is. We heard her being mentioned, being called out by the U.S. President Barack Obama as a lady who's doing something positive to change her community. And this is Josephine Kuller. She's the executive director of Samburu Girls Foundation and a professional nurse as well, right? And then we have Lilian Nyangor Ndambuki, who is the CEO and founder of Purpose and Passion Excel Limited, a company that deals in training, facilitation, coaching, and mentoring. And we also have Tony Nomo, the CEO of Kitabu.
CIO.
CIO. What does the I stand for?
It's very simple. Chief Innovation Officer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll start with you because I introduced you last. And maybe you can tell us what Kitabu is.
Well, in a sentence, it's the Kenyan education curriculum in a digital platform. We've all seen the move that our government, led by our president, is going towards digital education. In 2012, before he even got elected as president, we knew that that was going to happen. We forecasted it, and we wanted to create an application that does a couple of things pretty easily. Number one, allows the leasing of content. Number two, stores everything on a single device. And number three, which is for us extremely key, is convenience and invites students to learn. So Kitabu has all of that. We have standard 844 books on there, thanks to Longhorn Publishing and Moran Publishing as we increase our partners. But what's even more fun is there's video and there's audio as well.
So is it on it's on my phone, my tablet?
It's on any device you want. It's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's on your laptop. It's anywhere you want it.
Then, Tony, doesn't that mean you're cutting out on a group of people who don't have access to this object?
This is obviously the challenge. The challenge with technology is the device is always the gap. But it's not something that has been a problem per se, because in 1999-2000, when mobile phones got into the market, what did we say? Oh, Kenyans will never afford it.
Yes.
Look at our penetration now. We're like the 5th highest in the world, and the 2nd highest in our continent.
Yes.
That argument never holds water. If you give people value, they will sacrifice Sukuma Wiki to be able to get their mobile phone or that tablet.
How's the update been so far?
It's been phenomenal. We have not, obviously we've not launched the application countrywide, because the partnerships are very important with partners like Safaricom and the like. But then where we've tested this, to that refugee camp specifically, the uptake was ridiculous, because people know textbooks cost so much more.
Yes.
But they also know that technology is the future, and the future is right here.
Let me ask you, so are you charging me to get this information on my phone or my
Yes
tablet?
and no. The content is pre-installed. That means that you have very little charge to download, because 844 has a lot of books, class 1 to class 8. That's quite a few
7
GB.
subjects
Yes.
in there.
But because Kitabu allows you to rent the content, and not just rent the book, you can rent the book, the chapter or page for an hour, a day, a week, a month, or a school term. You can get a book that costs 1,000 shillings for 6 cents an hour for a page. When is the last time you used a cent in Kenya?
Yeah, yes.
It's extremely affordable for everyone.
Okay, all right. Lillian, your profile says you're in the process of breaking mental barriers. What does that mean?
What that means is, I'll give an example. When we were growing up, I mean, during my generation, we always had this song that used to go, so many vijana, ongeza tena bidii, mwisho wa kusoma, you will get a good job. I am in the business of breaking that barrier. You don't have to get a job to actually put food on your table. And as Kenyans, there are so many things that we grew up being programmed, because you are programmed to think in a certain way. And that thinking actually limits you as an individual. So at Purpose and Passion, we are in the business of having to break that barrier, that you can actually go beyond what you think you can reach. Like, for example, when I finished university, I didn't get a job. And I started selling second-hand clothes. But at the back of my mind, I knew that I don't have a job. And yet that was actually meeting my needs at that particular time. So I had to go back to the employment sector to feel important. Why? Because I had been programmed to think that without a job, with the education I got,
without going into an office, then
I'm not anybody.
You're nothing.
I am nothing.
What as you go through this journey of trying to break mental barriers in people, what would you say is the main reason as to why we have a mental barrier? What is the main reason?
The main reason, I think, as Kenyans, the way we have a mental barrier is our education system. I always say that if I ever became the president, I'm not a politician, I will actually change our education system, because we learn, like my son, my firstborn son, he used to come home and he will ask me, Mom, why am I learning who did this and who did that? And I didn't understand why he was learning what he was learning, because it was, in fact, I will tell him, why can't you work hard in school? And he says, I'll still become number one, I'll still become number two. Why am I bothering? Why? Because he got everything in school. And I realized that the system was not helping him to be a hard-working young man. And during my journey as I coach and as I train, I meet young people who did well in primary, who did well in high school, but they struggled in the university. Why? Because they had a photogenic mind. We are all different. Some people have photogenic minds, some people have to read. And that's why you find that, and that's why I think why people say that the A students work for the C students, because the C student has learned to work hard. The A student has a photogenic mind.
Okay. So well, there are those who are going to differ with that, but I get your point. That there are those of us who, because we are not particularly strong in what is supposed to be the norm, then we have to work twice as hard to you know, live up to expectations of society, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Actually, what I'm trying to say is that all of us have different giftings, and the mental barrier I'm trying to break is that if Kirigo, you love art, you love to dance, then it's okay. You will stand before great men with that gift. You don't have to have a mind for education. If I'm an A student and I want to be a professor or a doctor, then you are gifted that way. So my mental barrier, we all don't have to be A students. We all can be comedians. We have comedians who are doing very well, putting food, driving great cars. So that's the mental barrier I go to schools to break. That you are okay the way you are. Just work on your gift. Who are you? Are you a singer? Then work and become better
the best at it.
Become the best at it. Okay. Yes.
All right. Josephine, congratulations. You know, my first question is going to be, how did it feel hearing your name being mentioned by the greatest man on earth, like they say, President Barack Obama?
Well, it was really a surprise. Then it didn't sink then at the event. Like, I was just looking and it's like, was that me mentioned? Was that us? I mean, even the way he said Samburu, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, it was really awesome. I think the president just has a passion for women and girls. And it was not my first time for me to hear him speak about women and girls. I was in last year's Young African Leaders Center initiative in the US for the 6 weeks leadership training, and the same passion came out of him. And
so what we saw yesterday was not a front. It's what he is all about.
Yes, it's what he speaks about. It is in him, it's something he stands for, and it is in all of his speeches every other time.
Okay. You do a lot of rescue mission for girls back in Samburu, and I want to know how that is coming along, especially seeing as it is a taboo subject. You know, you're venturing into a world which has what can I say? That is what they know. That is what they have been. That is who they have been ever since time immemorial.
Yeah, so it's really a challenging issue because one, as you said, growing up, doing it as a norm, and then suddenly you go to school and realize, hey, these things are bad. You know, getting married at 10 years is wrong. Female cutting is now outlawed. Then we should stop it. And the moment you come back and say, hey, it's wrong, and every time my community looks at me like, hey, were you not cut? Why are you telling us not to cut other girls? And I said, because it's wrong. I went through it, and now I know the difference. I'm actually a nurse by profession. I know what it means to have health issues when you've undergone the cut. I know what it means when you give birth and you're young, at 12 years, you're having a baby and you've been cut. So all those reasons behind the harmful, the culture and the effects. So that is what the community doesn't understand. Like behind that culture, there are effects that are costing even life for the girls and women in that community. So for me, it's been a fight and trying to convince people who've been doing it forever. But the difficulty is in the men. Because, yes, it's in the men. They say, well, it's our culture, why should we? But the moment we talk to them and show them, like, you know, this is how a woman's body looks like, and when this part is out, then this is the effect. These are the issues that will the women face. So it really dawns on them like, oh really? We thought it's as simple as a male circumcision or something. So I think it's also all about ignorance. You know, because once in this country we have a habit of passing the laws and leaving it there.
Up there.
Yeah, so at the grassroots level, people don't even know that any law of that sort exists. So implementation is the biggest gap we have.
Challenge.
Yeah, and civic education on our laws is lacking in this country, and our people are suffering out of ignorance.
Out of ignorance. You've attended quite a number of these leadership summits. You know, with Yali being the most recent last year. What would you say you've picked up from those classes? Because I believe it's a class. Yeah.
So Yali was all about bringing all these great people from Africa doing these great initiatives in different tracks. We had people in business, entrepreneurs, we had people in civic leadership like us, and we had people from public offices like government and even banks. So one thing that really struck out for me or stood out for me, it was the way you know, we were taken to America not to be brainwashed as people thought, but we were taken to learn to be a leader in general. For me, the best thing that stood out for me was the servant leadership that we lack mostly in our day-to-day political lifestyle. We were able to interact with the leaders from that country, called the senators, the governors, and eventually the president at Washington D.C. And you would see how these people are, you know, going out of their way, serving communities as servants. Not to be served as the big, you know, Mheshimiwas, those kind of titles. No, they come down to the ground and they interact with you and they want to know your problems. And actually, my biggest question to one of the governors was, so how accessible are you to the people? And he said, I'm pretty much accessible. You know, anyone walks into my office, they bring their issue, we discuss, and they leave. Here, can you go?
It's a different story altogether.
Yeah.
Okay. When most of us hear the word entrepreneurship, we think about manufacturing. We think about producing things in big volumes. But you're entrepreneurs. What would you do to dispel that notion? And I'll ask you that, Tony. What?
I think technology has done a very good job of showing that. In fact, right now, Kenya, when people talk about entrepreneurship, it's kind of shifted from manufacturing to technology because of scalability. It's pretty simple. Being able to create something that can be used by everybody in the world at once is the power of it. In my yesteryears, a couple of years ago, I started something many people know about. It's called the NILAB. And when I founded it, the idea behind it was, how can we find something that we can call a central depository of people who have got some sort of expertise and are willing to use it to help corporate companies. It was an incubator that Sam Gishuru, a good friend of mine, now is CEO of. And when we started it then, we never thought the scale would be as big as it was. But you know, before I started, we raised $5 million for it. It means that there was genuine need for this local intervention and involvement. But rightly so. A lot of people think, just as you said, entrepreneurship is a manufacturing thing. We've moved from that era. The industrial era is coming to a close. The service era has blossomed. One of the reasons why China right now is going through what it's going through, the stabilization of its currency, is because it's moving from a manufacturing mindset to a service mindset, Alibaba type, where how can we help you deliver a service vis-a-vis a piece of equipment. And that's the advantage of technology. I can build something in Samburu with you that a girl in Czechoslovakia can use, that a girl in some part of DC can use. I can build an application for everybody. So entrepreneurship should not be about things. It should be about, just like she said, service, convenience, helping people's lives become easier.
Let me pick on something you said and ask you this question. We have seen during this summit there was a lot of conversation on technology innovations, you know, and we're seeing a lot of Kenyans and a lot of Africans doing that. And my question for you is that all we have to offer? Because we are considered the new frontier when it comes to business. We've been considered the next big thing. But when you listen to the conversations, especially at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, at least for me, there's a lot of conversations on technology and innovations, and I'm just wondering, are we saying there's no space for anything else, that this is now where we're supposed to be?
Very valid question, and I'll give you the answer this way. There were banks in Kenya for decades, if not centuries, until M-Pesa came and changed the way the scene works. Because as many as our banks, the penetration of banks in Kenya is very little. You know, how many people have bank accounts?
True.
I mean, we are not talking millions. But then when M-Pesa came in, under 10 years, we've got more people banked in this country per volume than any other place in the planet because of mobile technology. Again, it comes down to scalability. And because there's a lot of work in infrastructure that needs to be set up for a lot of things like medical care, insurance, education to succeed in a country like Kenya, which yes, is moving in the right direction, but it's not going to get there. I mean, you can only build a road so fast. But if I can be able to bring your bank to your phone, if I can be able to bring school to your home, if all the girls that she's dealing with in Samburu don't have to build a library, we can give them 10 tablets, 100 tablets, and know that all the content will be pre-installed. They have a solar panel that they can charge it with, and because there are videos on there that have already been pre-installed, the girls can learn in the language that they require to learn everything they need. We have leapfrogged 10, if not 50 years of work.
That's the word, that's the term they're using. We've leapfrogged. I want to ask all of you a question, and this is in regards to, you know, education. This is something US President Barack Obama said, and I quote, "Why disparities in education levels undermine Kenya's readiness for economic takeoff." Now, in your experience, and I'll start with you, Lillian, how do you think we should deal with this? You know, it's said that there are those who have the masters and the PhDs, you know, doing very well, and then those ones with the diploma are not doing very well. So how do we balance that, or what do we need to do to see a shift? Do we need to do anything?
Can I go into that first? Can I?
Okay, fine.
You said something really interesting. You said those with a degree and a master's are doing very well.
And I don't agree. I was about to say, I don't agree with
well,
that.
and you know why I brought it up? Because we are coming from a place where in our homesteads we are told that for you to be able to get a good job,
yes, so many vijana.
Do you get?
Yes.
For you to get a good job, Kiriko, for you to advance in your career, you have to do your masters. For you to advance, you have to do your PhD. Professor.
Actually, as Kenyans, we need to break that. But I don't think you really need to succeed in education for you to be able to succeed in life. Those are two different things. We have people with masters and PhD, and they're nowhere. You don't hear about them. But then you have somebody else who doesn't have any of that education, and they're doing well. I mean, Tony, do you have a master's?
I think I've never finished it.
Exactly how he is doing something that's changing people's lives. It's going to change the education system in Kenya. So I don't think it has to be because of the masters. One thing that I picked from actually the GS Summit is a transformation. The way you are saying it's about technology, there was that bit that maybe was covered by the media, but inside the summit, I realized that if you are selling groundnuts, and you're passionate about it, you will succeed because you're meeting a need. And entrepreneurship is about, majority of the entrepreneurship people I listen to and listen to their stories, they saw a need in their society. Like the young man from Ghana who was talking about the moringa tree. And we all know about moringa, we grow moringa here. And yet the guy talks passionately about moringa and how he's influencing the women in the village to grow moringa, and the economy is changing, and now they have money in their pocket. And that was something I looked at and I think, oh, so you can do anything. It actually broke a mental barrier where entrepreneurship is concerned.
And I think he won an award for that. Did he?
Yes, he did. He won an award.
Yes.
But let me just another one talking about fishing.
Yes.
Let me flip the script for Josephine, because she's coming from a community where there are girls who have, you know, had a troubled childhood, and now they're free. And one thing is they really want to go to school. They want to be able to read and write. You know, how then do you deal with that?
For me, I'll take that as education should be like a basic requirement to learn, to know how to read and write, so that people can later take on their talents and then take on their passions. Because if you've not identified your talent, you can always know what what you love to do, what you want to change. Like I'm following my passion. Rescuing girls is not a talent; it's a passion. Like today, I would wake up, Keriga, and say, tomorrow, I don't want to rescue any other girl. I don't want to fight with the community. I am tired. And then the phone goes, ting, ting, a girl is getting married tomorrow. And I'll be like, where? I'll be up on my feet and I want to run. And later I asked myself, why do I do this? Then I went into myself and said, this is passion. That I cannot run away from.
Let me ask you something. Let me cut you short. You're a nurse.
Yes,
you still practice?
I stopped practicing nursing. That was like 3 years ago. I actually did active nursing for a year in a hospital, and then I actually worked in a government hospital for a year on a contract. Then I worked in a private hospital for 6 months. Then I'm like, no, hospital is not my thing. I want to be in the community. And actually, while I was a nurse, is when my first posting was within the Samburu community, and that's where I started rescuing girls and taking them to school.
That's when you discovered.
Yes, then I said no. I want to be even more in the village than just sitting and waiting for people walking in with problems. So I think for me that is when I identified, like in my childhood education system, that I noticed we have issues happening in my community and they're not, changing. And unless people go to school and learn maybe how to read and write, sometimes we learn. Like now the constitution is being taught in school, the laws, things are mentioned, like, they just like flip your mind and you're like, yeah, right, we should not be doing this. So education is good to focus us on the right direction, but we should not be pumped with subjects that are not useful to our future.
Can I say this? We're not negating the impact of education. The way we speak, the language we have, her skills, but it's education. It is extremely cornerstone. But where we are now, what we have done is, let me give you a very visual example. You've gone to a wedding, and the only drink at the wedding is softa. That's all. It doesn't, it's what Kenya looks like. We have pumped out the same kind of person, telling them the same thing, giving them the same information, and expecting them to fill different parts of our country's expectations. The future is not built on a single individual's design. We have to appreciate and bring the diversity. She's an educated young lady. She's very smart, she's eloquent, she puts it out there, and she has succeeded in what she's doing because of her education. But it is the passion she has on top of that that has made her who she is.
Okay, I get you guys now.
That's
So
exactly
it's passion that now takes it to the next
And you
level.
cannot teach that in a classroom.
Can I add something small? I met Nora Oweso yesterday, and she is actually wants to start a program. She was asking me, can I create a curriculum for the D students, so that we bring them up and give them skills of confidence, soft skills. I mean, creating confidence in themselves, being able to find their purpose and their passion, and to help them and coach them into getting to that place where they can make a contribution in the society. So that particular, whatever she's coming up with, and we are going to work in partnership with her, that is going actually to cover what President Obama talked about. Because we are going for the students who have failed, who have not made it.
Who have failed according to
the society, the doctor he has talked about.
This is because my experience is I'm dyslexic, which basically means I cannot comprehend text on a book as well as normal people would. So in primary school I was really good, because my primary school, the books had pictures. I was one of the best in class. When I went into high school, a public school, a big shout out to the Bangu man out there, because I was in Mangu, I couldn't comprehend the text. I could not, so my grades totally flunked.
Dips.
But when I was in high school, my father was like, you know what, I know you're smart. This system may not work for you. Just get through it because it's a requirement. But I know you're smart. I'm fortunate to have a father who could say that to me. Because when I was done, before I was 30, 500 million shillings was given to a company I started. Before I was 30. Now, the system that we have in Kenya doesn't tell you that. It tells you that you're dumb. You're a failure. You can never be anything in life. And 2 years ago, John Kerry, Obama was here this season. 2 years ago when Kitabu won GIST, the event that was happening at GE yesterday, John Kerry was a hand and he asked me, what is your background? I told him, I went to school somewhat, I kind of got some stuff. And he said, yes, because you cannot be an individual out of a system. You have to be outside the system.
Outside the box.
Exactly.
For you to make it, you have to be outside the box.
That's exactly right.
Another question, and it's one that plagues a lot of people out there who really want to start a business, but then they keep saying, capital, man, capital. I don't have capital. I want to, make money, but I don't have any money to spend. And then I just want you to quickly tell me, you started a foundation, a very tough job. How did you get the funding? Because you need funding to go into Samburu and,
Yeah, so I run Samburu Girls Foundation. We founded with a co-founder. She's Gladys Lesuma. And as a nurse, I said I started rescuing girls on a salary, peanuts, we paid kidogo. Nurses, we need to up for them, really. So I used to buy these girls uniforms and stuff and buy them soap with my own salary. And 30 girls down the line, I'm like, really? It's not working. So I just need to move like this thing to a bigger scale, and so we came together with Gladys and thought about it all and took it up and registered the organization, and we actually were literally using money from our pockets for the last 2 years. Now, this is the year that people started calling and say, hey, we hear you support girls. Can we give you some little money for fees and some, you know, and the individuals coming in to sponsor girls. So it's not easy. And that's why many people give up. Because the moment you think you're going back to your monies, your savings, then people are like, oh, you guys don't have money.
Because I have responsibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I have to pay rent. I have to feed myself. And then you're asking me to put in my life savings on a plan which I'm not too sure about.
And actually, up to now, we're like a group of 10 volunteers, and none of us get paid because we are prioritizing the girls. And it's not always about the money. It's about changing that life without even that money.
Tony?
I'll give you 5 specifics, which I'm going to do with her after this, because I cannot stand for that. You deserve to get paid for this. But the first thing is, make a story in a sentence. Be clear. What do you want to do? Because it's easy to get people to buy into you with a story. We went for an event. I had 3 minutes. I played a video for 2.5 of those 3 minutes, and in the last 30 seconds I said, if this story inspires any of you, help. Somebody spoke for the entire 3 minutes. We got 10 times the amount of money the other person did, because our story was precise and clear. Number 1, tell your story. Number 2, it's very clear. Be visible. Let people see you. You're very visible now. You'll probably be in Time magazine in less than a month. The third thing, and this is where it gets now really important, allow people to engage you. That's what we were talking about earlier. Even if it's a one-page website, these things are free. Get it for free. Be out there. Let people be able to reach out to you, because you can't go everywhere. The video I said we made has been in offices I could never get into. It's easy. And number 4 and 5 are very, very simple. Number 4 is get legitimate. Get a business, register, you know, those things, basic. Get an uncle to help you, sell a goat, whatever. Get legitimate. And number 5, and this is the most important thing for anyone, learn. Always learn. If there's a function or an event, go for it. GES, all these things are opportunistic endeavors. Go for it. Somebody will single you out because you've done the other 4 things. But if you cannot do them, and you're haphazard and you have no story, and I have 2 minutes in an elevator and ask you, what do you do? And you say, well, you've lost me.
That right there. Lillian?
Allow me to quote from the Bible. There's a scripture that says, do not despise the days of small beginnings. Do never ever despise when you start small. That's the problem we have. Most people want to start big. Do not despise small beginnings. And just to add on what Tony is saying, I can add 6. Is that whatever passion or purpose you have, there is a principle that attracts people to come and help you. Kirigo, there are times I'm seated at home, I'm wondering, should I go look for a job, or should I continue breaking mental barriers? And one thing I've come to realize that there's a principle on this earth that helps anybody who wants to do something. It will attract the right people to you.
The law of attraction.
Yes, the law of attraction. It will attract. I've had people call me. I said, Lillian, are you available to train? When I thought I'm not going to get any training. I can tell you that since I started the Purpose and Passion, I have never sent any proposal out there. And yet I have trained Central Bank in raising high-performing teams. I have trained Kenya Airports Authority on leadership, transformation on leadership. I have trained at St.
So the days have, I mean, the doors have just opened
they have
for you.
Opened because it's something I'm passionate. It's something you want to do and it's going to solve a problem. Somehow people just call you. I was just called here. I did apply to be here. So whatever you want to do, people will be attracted to come and help you. One of the things that was said at the summit, you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. Voice whatever idea you have. You'll be surprised. I've always wondered. The right people will come to you. So don't let your idea drop.
But then you see, there's a fear, and we had this conversation earlier, there's a fear that we are the GES, we are seeing big things being done, and yet I have a very simple idea.
Those are the ones that succeed.
Those are the ones that succeed.
In fact, if you think about it, one of the most valuable buyouts in the world in the last decade was WhatsApp. WhatsApp does one job, text. It's 19 billion. That's the total GDP of 6 countries in the SADC region. It was bought for $19 billion because he could do one thing and did it extremely well. Ken Njoroge of Cellulant is a good friend of mine. We were having a conversation at Cellulant, and people were always hammering around him, asking him, oh, how did you do this? How did you do this? Cellulant is so this, so that. And he told me when we were having a conversation, because I'm trying to get him to mentor me to some extent, he said, Tony, the one thing every entrepreneur in Kenya, including you, which is something I learned and I keep learning, lack is an inability to focus. Everybody has a side gig. In Kenya, that's what people do. You have a job, but you have a side gig. Here's the problem. You will be average at your job, and you'll be average at your side gig. I am going to do your side thing so well that I'm going to completely blanket you out in the market. And the beauty of us being here is that we vary in age ranges. I am obviously the oldest Yeah?
You think? You think?
She's much younger than much younger. But then the trick of the way this business works, entrepreneurship, start right now. Wherever you are, start now. Don't say I'm too young, don't say I'm too old, don't give yourself an excuse, don't say I don't have enough money. Start right now. And I can tell you this because I've seen people who are under 20 and people who are over 60 start and succeed. Literally, in front of my eyes, they started and succeeded. A good friend of mine was laid off from the government 7 years ago. He was 64. He's turning 70 now. But he started a business that makes him more money in a month
than what he ever
in
got
a year.
Yeah. Okay.
And so one of the things I kept hearing from the summit, be afraid, but do it anyway.
Be afraid, but do it anyway.
Yeah.
Be afraid, but do it anyway.
Okay. All right, guys. Our time is up. Thank you so much for coming. We would have talked and talked and talked because I have so many questions. You know. But quickly, is mentorship important? Yes or no?
Yes.
Very important.
Yes, very important.
So we go out and look for a mentor.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, that's one of the things that we even write for our girls. Like this holiday, we are hosting a camp at Kenya High School for our high schoolers for an exchange program.
Oh, nice.
And we are bringing in
Mentors.
people just to talk to them and tell them women can make it. You come from a community that, you know,
Has sidelined women for a very long time.
Yeah, but you can make it. You can get out of that community and become something better and go back and work for it.
So mentorship is important.
Very important.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming. Really enjoyed the conversation. It's been fantastic. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. We do hope that you've learned something. And I'll just ask Lillian to repeat. What did you learn? Be afraid?
Be afraid, but do it anyway.
Be afraid, but do it anyway. That is the message I leave you with this Monday morning. Should carry you on through the week and for the rest of your life. Be afraid, but do it anyway. Thank you so much for watching the Power Breakfast Show. On behalf of everyone, I want to wish you a beautiful Monday. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Take care.
Thank you.